How's it going, everyone? My name is Dan. I'm an engineer, music producer, and bourbon enthusiast, and I want to make a quick video of my bourbon collection. I started this hobby about 2 years ago in the summer of 2023. I've been able to pick up some good bottles the past couple of years. I'll start off with my rarest, most hyped bottle, which is Old Rip Van Winkle 10-year. I was able to find this through an allocated event at a liquor store, and you can see that on Buffalo Bourbon Enthusiast's channel. I opened this bottle on my 30th birthday a couple months ago, and I was able to share it with some family and friends, and in my opinion, it doesn't quite live up to the hype and the secondary market pricing. I think it's a decent bourbon, but I probably wouldn't pay more than MSRP if I was going to buy it again. Next up is the younger cousin to Old Rip 10-year, and that would be Weller Antique 107. I picked this up in Ohio at a state liquor store for $55, and it's probably the best $55 I've ever spent in my life. This is one of the best bourbons I've ever had. It has a lot of cherry, raspberry, and vanilla flavor, and it's one of the most fruit-forward bourbons I've ever had. I would absolutely pick this up again, and I would probably pay double MSRP for it. That's how good it is. Next up is another Weller product, and that is Weller 12-year. I picked this up at an allocated event for $100, and I definitely overpaid for it. It tastes similar to Antique 107, but oakier and less fruit-forward, so I probably wouldn't pay more than MSRP for this one either. Next is one of my most recent pickups, which is Stag 24B. I'm a huge fan of the Stag line. There's a lot of hype surrounding it, and I think it is justified. It's a very good high-proof bourbon with a lot of flavor, and I picked this one up for $69, which is a price that I would absolutely pay again. Stag has a lot of fruit flavor and a lot of flavor in general, not over-oaked, and I always like Stag. I do have another bottle of Stag, and that is batch 22A. I've heard this is one of the best batches in recent years, and it's actually the first allocated bottle that I picked up when I got into the hobby. I definitely overpaid for it. I paid triple digits, and the first number is not a 1, I'll leave it at that. But I do think it'll be worth it in the end. I haven't opened it yet, but I have sampled it at a bar, and I think it is an incredible bourbon. Next up is not a Buffalo Trace product. It's actually Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Proof Store Pick. I was able to sample this at the store, and I really liked it. It didn't have a traditional Jack Daniel's banana flavor. It had a lot of caramel and honey and sweet molasses flavor, and it comes in at 130.7 proof. I really think Jack Daniel's has stepped up their game the past few years with their Coy Hill releases and their barrel-proof ryes and their barrel-proof bourbons, and I'm definitely excited to see the 12-year and 14-year hopefully someday. Next up is another non-Buffalo Trace product, and that is Knob Creek Single Barrel Select Store Pick. I went to a huge bourbon tasting event at Grand Wine and Spirits in Lockport, and this was my top bourbon out of all the ones that I tried that day. I think it costs about $55, and it's probably the best bargain I've ever seen. It's straight sugar cookies, molasses, and caramel corn, and it's one of the sweetest bourbons I've ever had, and has a very long finish. I would absolutely recommend this if you can find one. I've also tried another store pick from Albany, New York, and it was equally as good as this one. And now for the most tater bottle in my collection. You know it and you love it, Blanton's Single Barrel. I don't think any bourbon collection is complete without a Blanton's. A lot of people say it's overhyped, but I actually do like the flavor of it, and I was able to pick this one up for $80, which is a pretty decent price. I think it's similar to the Air Jordan 1, where you can't say that you're a collector unless you have one of these in your collection. Another smooth-sipping tater bottle in my collection is good old Eagle Rare. This is the first bottle that I ever found just sitting on shelves for MSRP, and I was really excited when I saw it. I've had some good batches and some not so good batches, but the good batches tend to have a lot of grape flavor, wine flavor, they smell like red wine, and the okay batches are basically just mixers, if that. But hopefully this is a good batch, and I paid $49.99 for it. Last and certainly not least is the Sagamore 7-year rye store pick. I've tried a couple of these from a couple different stores, and none of them have been bad. In fact, they've been the complete opposite. They've wowed me with how good they were. They tend to have a long finish and more of a bourbon profile than a rye profile, This particular bottle is from Midnight Liquors, where I bought my old Rip Van Winkle, and it was a Buffalo bourbon enthusiast's pick. I definitely would recommend you picking up one of these if you are a bourbon person and you're trying to start getting into ryes, because they tend to be very great bottles. So let me know what you think. Do you own any of these bottles, and what's your opinion of them? Feel free to leave a like and comment if you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more.